Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt, man! All right! Episode 149 of Shirt Show. We're talking with Mario from CAGEHEAD in Pennsylvania. Let's go! Shirt show!
Hey there, beautiful.
Hey, babe.
How's it going? You look, what do you have? You have shorts or pants or zebra?
Jeans?
Oh, you just got like fancy jeans on?
No, they're jeans. They're just regular jeans. I've got fancy jeans, like as far as genetically, if that's what you mean. They're pretty fancy.
No, you do have those 100%.
I do have those. They're kind of
you have magic ass fucking
bougie jeans.
bougie fucking genetic jeans.
Enough about me. Let's talk about you. You look great, by the way,
Thanks.
in that hoodie. And you got do you have a turtleneck on there? Oh, no.
No, it's a t-shirt. It's just a little worn.
Thought it might be a little chilly up there. And
I have both my windows wide open and it's beautiful outside. So I got a little bit more sunshine in today.
Okay.
Than usual.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. Yeah. It's so overcast and dreary and rainy here that before, like 10 minutes before we came on, I'm like, I need a nap real quick. Like, can I squeeze a nap in? It was putting me to sleep, but
it's been like on and off, like super beautiful 70-degree weather. And then it's like thunderstorming and 30 degrees.
Yeah, that happened here.
Yeah. So I need to hear all about the multi-craft trip.
Dang it. I was going to ask you about your Shark Tank thing first, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to, then I'll go first. If I have to, I should say. Yeah, I went and visited Jimmy and Dave at their new multi-craft, massive, super dope. What would you call it? What is it? A distributor?
Is it their training facility / warehouse?
Yeah. There you go. Those are the right words. So they have a room that they can host classes in. They have a room that they have like presses in. And in fact, I ran one of the presses, sort of.
I heard about your sick palette print.
Okay. Hold on. First of all, I was offloading at the time. Logo Daddy John was running it.
Okay, so it's John's fault.
But I don't even want to pin it on him either, because really it's Zach. It's Can of Corn. And what's funny is, like, when that happened, Ryan Moore had the microphone and he goes, "Oh, sure, Kong, and fucking Logo Daddy just screwed up a palette." And I was like, and everybody's pointing at us. I'm like, fine, it's fine. Like, who hasn't printed a palette? But what
you didn't even flinch though, because you're used to that sound.
It's every day here. It was like normal. Isn't that normal? Isn't that how this works? No, but what you know what it was is it's The Rock, which I didn't know. The Rock has a feature that you can program single press operator. And so the load station and offload station are one. And so if you were to hit print finish, for example, it would think that the shirt and the offload station, or the load station, you know what I'm saying, is the actual final shirt, but it's not. I'm not describing this well.
I'm following you. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, there's just one station for that. So the next pallet over, it's one off. And so, Zach walked away and was like, "Hey, you guys, you're good to go." We forgot, or whoever was running it forgot.
Because you were doing load and unload.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like, but it's a really neat feature, but unless you're aware of the feature,
right,
things may go wrong. And they did. But so the good news is that, or the cool thing is that we got to sign the palette that we fucked up.
Cool.
It's there forever. I hope they're never going to
take it off. Yeah, exactly.
But they have a neat place up there, and they put on quite a party. There's a food truck and everything. I didn't get to eat because I didn't know there was going to be a food truck. And so we went to this breakfast place.
It was hot dogs too, wasn't it?
I know. I saw that. A funny story. So when we're out in Chicago, pretty much anywhere, but specifically Chicago, you do not put ketchup on a hot dog. Do you know
don't
this?
put ketchup on a hot dog anywhere.
I know you don't do that anywhere. Little kids do that, but in Chicago, if you do that, that's a problem. And so
Right,
apparently Zach, yeah, apparently Can of Corn went to it was opening day up there, so he goes to the Cubs game, and he orders a hot dog, and he goes. You know how that?
Did he ask for ketchup?
No, there's the place. You go to the island where you can get all the condiments, and so he goes up to the ketchup. And he's taking a video because he's proud that he's out at the Cubs game and everything. And he's taking a video, puts ketchup on his hot dog. And some lady behind him goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he's like, what do you mean? And she goes, "You're going to create a sacrilege while recording on video and putting,
at the fucking Cubs
stadium." And she goes, "Wipe it off. Wipe it off now." And so he did. He wiped it off, and he just.
Fuck yeah, he should have. She would have shanked him.
So anyway, yeah, that's a Chicago thing. I know it's everywhere thing, but it's like up there, you definitely don't want to do that. They probably have it out there for like a decoy to be like, "Oh, they're not from here."
What fucking asshole's gonna do it? It would be better if they put something else in it.
Yeah,
something terrible and gross.
Oh, okay. I thought it was something good, but you're right. It should be gross. And terrible.
Like straight E. coli.
But I missed you and wish you were there. I know you had something going on though, which was equally as cool.
Yeah.
And you were on Shark Tank.
Yeah, I was on Shark Tank. No, a good friend of mine, Sydney, who actually used to work here, she's like fucking one of the smartest people I know. She teaches a business class at BU, and she asked me a little while ago if I would be willing to be one of the judges on like a mock investor panel. And then I was like, hell yeah, that sounds fun. And then she told me that basically it's like 9 groups of students, and they all have the same business. So it's not like they're all pitching different businesses. Every business was called Campus Teas. And it was like straight up fucking Stephen Farrick, like Campus Inc. Like their goal was to, get Northeast colleges on board and, do events and like all this stuff. And I was just like, if Stephen was here, he would fucking implode. Like, and it was just funny because I'm sitting there and they're like, "Oh, we're going to introduce the judges." And, I go last, but like the other guys are people I know that own really good businesses in town. And they go through and say who they are. One's like the head of like an incubator, and the other one owns Shenango Supply, which is like a bigger company here. And then it gets to me and I'm like, yeah, I've been in the apparel decoration industry for like, like 16 years or whatever. Everyone's like, "Oh," and it was just funny because like you could tell they got like nervous because these kids don't know anything about the industry. They just were tasked of like, this is what you have to learn basically, and then you have to pitch this like their business. It was funny because Sydney didn't really know either, and she kind of just typed up like the parameters of like your business makes $2.5 million, and you need investment for this and this, and like came up with all these numbers. Like you have 250,000 followers on Instagram and like all these other things. And they just basically had to be like, all right, we're at this point with Campus Teas. This is what we want to do to grow to the next level. And just the interesting, like, not only was it funny to just be on that panel and be like, whatever, but to see these college kids that are trying to get like a business major, what their research of our industry was. You know what I mean? Like to them, they're just like, these are the top competitors in our industry. And it's funny, every single one of them, like they're all different in some ways. Every single one of them's first like competitor was Custom Ink. And I was like, that's funny. And then they did like, other ones like Rush Order Tees. I was waiting for Campus Ink to show up, but it never did. So,
well, if you're in college, you're definitely going to be very web-based. Well, your thought process is going to be like, oh, we're going to be on the internet and da-da-da. And if you are, and if that's your thing, then yeah, Custom Ink is probably your number one competitor. Yeah. Did you invest? So did you pick a winner? Is that how it went?
The funny thing is like, I felt like a dick, but I was kind of tearing them apart to an extent because, like I said, the interesting part was that they were looking at our industry from like, I got to figure out this real quick, and this is the way to go to make it in this industry. And so many of them were making like, I don't know, like almost all of them are like, our next step to grow, what we need your money for is we're going to buy a warehouse and we're going to buy all this equipment and we're going to whatever. And I was like, every single one of them, I was like, nope. I was like, what you need to do is you need to outsource.
Yes.
And you need to do this and this. And, you know, the worst thing you could do is buy a warehouse space and get into screen printing, because all of them kind of started off as like kind of like a custom ink where like they don't actually produce anything. They outsource to a certain extent. And then they're like, no, what we want to do is bring it in-house to like make X dollars and whatever. And they were all like, we need equipment, we need more employees. And every single one, I was like, no, you need less employees and you need less equipment, less headaches, focus on what you're good at.
Isn't that interesting? You know, you almost have to live through that to really know. It's sort of like telling your kids something like, hey, if you do that, that's, you know, might not work out.
And they're like, fuck you, I'm doing this anyway.
Right. You almost have to live through that. I mean, one of our largest accounts did exactly that. You know, they were growing, brought it all printing in-house. I mean, they printed here for 5 years and then brought it all in-house and, you know, tried to do their own production. And so that's the hardest thing, you know, instead of focusing on what they do really, really well. I'm not saying it can't be pulled off, but now all of a sudden you have all these other headaches. Yeah.
I'm just saying it was interesting from their perspective of like how it all works. There was a couple things that were kind of funny too. Like, the thing is, at the end of their pitch, we're supposed to ask them questions, you know, like, why would we invest in you? And what are your thoughts on this? And why would you do it this way? And the thing is like, they kind of have to be ready for questions that obviously they don't know the answers to. And one of the panel members said something to them, because this person's pitch was that they needed warehouse space. And the first thing they were going to buy equipment wise was a bunch of DTG machines.
Uh-oh.
And I was just waiting for my turn to fucking ask questions. But like someone had asked like, oh, what does it take to get this machine? And the one guy's like, you know, he doesn't know the answer, but he's like trying to think of like what it would be. He's like, yeah, I think one of these machines, you know, they roughly go for like to purchase is roughly like $2,000 to $10,000. I was like, like I literally like cackled. And I was just like, dude, you have no fucking idea.
Right.
And then I don't know. It was a good time. Like it was genuinely like a fun experience, and like kind of shitting on these kids, but like also like I so badly wanted to be Mr. Wonderful and just be like, and for that reason I'm out. Just like
right. Yeah,
know,
I think I think it's really healthy for these kids, you know, to go through that process, honestly. I mean, even though it's not real and you're not really feeling the pain of, you know, bills or and also the joy of like successes. I get it. It's really good to go through that sort of thing. And I think it was, man, what is it? I want to say FedEx was a class, like one of these things, like a pitch to like when this person was in college, when whoever founded FedEx, when they were in college, it was like a thesis, you know, like, oh, I pitched this idea of whatever. And and then after they graduated, they just went and did it. So, I mean, it's kind of good. I don't know. It's fun and you learn a lot, I suppose, from it.
Yeah. A lot of it was kind of like some of them had some really good ideas and they had some really good presentations, and you know they were just like, oh, this is what we could do. One of them was like, oh, we're going to do a screen printing RV and we're going to travel the coast and we're going to go to universities at these different events. I was like, yeah, that was one of the ones where I was like, yeah, I would invest in this if you guys invested in like live printing. I was like, the best model for what you guys are trying to do is live screen printing.
I think that you were like, printing. Yeah, I'll invest in this if I can come along. Like if I can be in the RV with you guys.
Right. If I can drive the RV. Exactly. Well, these fucking college kids.
So did you know your pupils are the last part to stop working when you die?
No, that's interesting.
Yeah, they dilate.
Nice. It's a good one.
You've got one, I hope, right?
You know, what's funny is like I have my own notes, and I kind of was like, I don't know if I want to do dad jokes anymore, because I feel like when we started doing dad jokes, all these other podcasts and shit started doing dad jokes. I mean, we weren't the first one to do dad jokes, but I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to like look up interesting facts, and I'm just going to hit you with an interesting fact that you might not know. And I have two of them ready.
Hit me with it.
Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. High heels were originally worn by men.
Okay.
It says in the 10th century, men in Europe wore high heels to make it easier to ride their horses. Adding heels to their boots made it easier to stay in their stirrups. the Persian cavalry wore inch-high heels, and trends spread to Europe since they showed them that the wearer owned and maintained horses, which meant that they had higher status with upper class. So upper class men started wearing high heels.
Yeah, I don't think they were wearing stilettos. I think it was that maybe they had a heel on their boot.
Yeah, but then eventually it got popular, and then it turned into
I don't think
heels.
that fact. I think that's a stretch. I think this is a bullshit fact.
Well, fuck me, right?
I fuck you, because I think men probably had heels on their boots, but they weren't in like, I'm
not saying they were in fucking like 6-inch heels.
Well, that's how you present it. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird, but it's not that weird. But okay, so what's your next fact? You're probably done.
Well, I don't even know what I want to say now. You're just going to shit on me.
Okay, I'll be nice. This fact that, wow, Dylan, like guys, high heels, that's crazy.
Yeah, whatever. Don't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oranges are not a naturally occurring fruit.
So you're saying it's man-made? Because I'm pretty sure they grow on a tree.
Oranges are a hybrid of tangerines and pomelos. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Okay. Wow, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Go ahead. Tell me how it's fucking stupid.
No, that's great. That's awesome. That's a really interesting fact.
But you know what made me think of that when I saw it was my kids even said this. They're like, what came first, the fruit or the color?
The fruit or the color? What do you mean? Like
orange. Like, so if oranges were kind of man-made because it's a hybrid, then I'm guessing the color would be first, right? And then when the oranges were orange, they were like, yeah, it's orange.
Man, this is perplexing. I don't know. I don't have the answer. That's good stuff.
I don't like the smirk on your face.
It's no, I'm just, that's me. That's my contemplating smirk. Like I'm trying to decide
whether I'm a fucking moron or not.
No, that's a great question. Which came first? And I don't have the answer.
Okay.
It stumped me.
Mm-hmm.
But here I am telling a dad joke because you wanted one, and then I told one, and then you were like, "Oh, and we're not going to do that because no,
yours was top notch.
But you fucking told me. You set me up there. That's fine. That's okay. I don't mind.
Okay. Let's talk about our friends.
Take it or leave it.
I want to take it. Frank.
It all starts with a screen, and whether it's new stretches or restretches, Frank and his team do it the best. To find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com, FFFFF.
Rank.com.
Or
greatfuckingscreens.com.
Cleaning screens is no fun, but EasyWay makes it funner. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals will make reclaiming screens a whole lot easier. Check them out at easyway.com. EasyWay
is the easiest way.
If you or your art department could use some love, then you need to go to 1-900-HOTStuff.com and get in touch with Nick or Lucas.
Nick or Lucas.
At GraphX Source. And look, they do a lot more than just art, such as separations, DTG files, direct to screen output, virtual proofs, product mockups, and of course, Sourcey Sauce.
Of course. You know what? I saw all of the posts about the multi-craft thing and all the stuff going on, and I was getting a little bit of FOMO. I was like, I was doing this cool thing and I couldn't make it, but I'm kind of sad I'm not there. And that was okay. I came to terms with it. But today I saw Joanne post a fucking photo of you and Nick Wood snuggled. And it hit me so hard. I was like, I have the most FOMO right now because I wasn't in on that Nick sandwich.
I know it's really
I feel like it was an open faced sandwich and I should have been the other bread.
It wasn't it could have been a better sandwich. Like it was great, but it was missing a little something, maybe some ketchup,
or
maybe
some Sourcey sauce.
That's what I meant to say. Yeah. Sourcey sauce. But I think that's the thing is like, if you went to Atlantic City and I didn't, and I had my FOMO, and then I go like the following week had this thing,
You had to get
You
back
had
at yours
yours.
because that's the kind of
So-
person you are.
Yeah, it was revenge. That's the only reason.
Mhm.
Like, honestly, that's the only reason why I went up there. I'm like, I'm going to
Mhm.
fucking show Dylan, you know,
Mhm.
what it feels but yeah, I didn't post that. Joanne did. That was a good, like, that was a nice
I
pick.
know.
And you know who I had? I mean, I had a great time with Nick. We did a whole lot of stuff. Nick and Nikki and John
Mhm.
and Julie, we had a good fucking steak. And I was like, I can't
Some
even,
of the greatest people. Yeah.
dude, I was going to take a picture of my steak and send it to you, but then it would have even like, it would have been almost like rubbing it in your face. I was like, I can't do this right now. I can't even, I'm going to pretend I had fucking shit for dinner. But I also had good conversation with, as always, with Steven, Campus Inc. Steven, who we were just talking about a minute ago, because he's got such a brain for business. He goes 1,000 miles an hour and I can hardly keep up. And also a good brain for life, just a good life brain.
Good life brain on Steven.
Yeah. Choosing the right emulsion for your shop is complicated, and that's why we love Chromaline. You want to go to chromaline.com to watch Kev's vids or contact him on Instagram at the Emulsion Guru and get the answers you need. Also, don't forget that these guys have solutions besides emulsion, like the laser.
Yes. Literally texting Kevin about the laser right now. Like I probably have missed messages from him right now.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Great
sharing
group of people.
That's it? Like
That's
you're
it.
not gonna share?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about it yet.
Okay. Ooh. If your shop is like ours, you're running more and more DTF and screen print transfers, then you need a partner that can get you quality transfers fast. Check out Howard Custom Transfers and their full line of options at howardct.com. And while you're there, you can also order a sample pack to see for yourself what they can do for your shop.
How's the back, bud? You good?
Well,
You're a week in now with no steroids. How's that going?
at least a week. I want to say more. Maybe 2 weeks.
Maybe 2.
Yeah. We drove, Joanne drove. Well, she doesn't like driving in the city. So when we left Chicago, like I did the city part, pulled over, she jumped in, and then I reclined and she drove. But I think Monday, yeah. So we drove back on Sunday. So on Monday, it hurt a little bit, but I just chilled and now I'm good. In fact, I worked out 2 days in a row.
Oh yeah. Are you back at the trainer?
No.
Or are you like, fuck that guy?
No, I'm just.
Well, he's in the middle of a gigantic lawsuit for ruining you. So
nope, no lawsuit. I'm easing into it. So my workout is you could hardly classify this as like a workout. Most people are like, what are you doing? But for me, it is. And because I've been doing so little lately, I did some stuff, so I feel good. Feel good, man. How about you? How's your back?
Oh, my back, my sciatica is worse than ever. So it's pretty
Down
great.
your leg?
Mm-hmm. Like the top of my ass cheek all the way down my leg. It's been like that for like 8 years.
Didn't mean to laugh.
Mm-hmm. It's fucking on fire at all times.
It just sounded funny. Which is it, the right or left leg?
My right.
Okay. I can help with this. I know what's going on. And so I'll talk to you later. I'll call you.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Who do we have today, bud?
Today, we are chatting with Mario Diamore.
Hey.
From CAGEHEAD in Philly. Here we go. Oh, feels good.
Oh, I'm dying. Everyone here is sick at the shop. Everyone's coughing and
you've had us stopped up.
leaky.
You've been like this for weeks. I mean, get over it.
I'm just dying. That's all it is. It's just my body fucking deteriorating. What's up, dude? How's it going?
Beautiful. It's going pretty good. It's been a lovely day so far. You're on the East Coast too.
Mm-hmm. Is it wonderful and sunny and 70 there?
I don't know. They got me locked up in this warehouse. It's like, it might be sunny outside, but I don't think so. I haven't been out in a few hours.
You don't have those big windows that open up Like the top half just pops out?
They're in the hallway like that. In my room, there's these rickety windows. They'll open up, might slam down, but I try to keep them closed when I'm printing because the breeze that comes through is crazy.
Yeah. So how's things?
Yeah.
How's the studio?
Studio is pretty awesome. I've just transitioned into a new studio over, I guess, since February. It's been a process, so it's been pretty cool.
Why the move?
All right, so basically I was in 500 square feet of space. It's my second studio that I just moved out of. And as you know, printing fumes and like, you know, rooms to set up jobs, and you need to have some pacing space too. It was like I would bump into this, bump into that. I had an opportunity to take a larger room, and it's really coming together and like opening my eyes to what I can really do with the proper space. I can skateboard in here. I can do
Obviously,
a lot of fun
that's
things.
your number one thing.
Yeah.
Is it in the same building? It's just a different spot?
So it's one building over, and the process of getting over here was pretty interesting because, you know, we're in a little bit of an older building. The freight elevators aren't always working. And I don't know if you know how heavy the Chameleon is.
Oh God.
But oh my God. Yeah, luckily my friend's like 6'6", so taking it apart and getting it over here wasn't too bad. But we had to walk down a little passenger elevator, like holding all different parts, and just carry it over piece by piece to the next building. And,
yeah, the great thing about the Chameleon is that it's super solid. I mean, there's no deflection. You can print, and the arm's going to always be, you could stand on the print arm and it's going to be solid. Like it will not bend. The bad news and the bad thing about the Chameleon is if you ever want to move it, forget it. Really, basically forget it.
He didn't forget it. He just did it.
Oh, I literally, I actually tried to move it like maybe a foot in my last studio, and somehow, some way I was able to like put my feet against the base and move it one time. And I never was able to move it again by myself, obviously. It was like, I had some like, you know, like a grandma could pick a car up if they're like
adrenaline
dogs underneath of it. Yeah, like, ah! Yeah. Well, it was like that. And I don't know, maybe I lost it. I exhausted all that.
So how did you get the center section up? Did you have to carry it, or did the elevator took it?
Oh, the freight elevator in this building was working, which was awesome. So it's actually right outside my door. So once we got things to this building, it was smooth sailing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what made you get into printing?
All right. So if you go back to about like 2017, I was working as a server after moving around a bit. I was living in Colorado, came back to the East Coast and moved to Philly. So while I was in Philly, I decided to Uber a bit, and it's, you know, it was all right. I ended up getting... You
were an Uber driver?
Temporarily. It was kind of cool. I got to learn the city better. I got to meet a lot of people, and
please tell me you have some crazy Uber experiences.
Yeah, what was your craziest experience?
I guess an Uber drug deal.
Nice.
It was like, I've had crazier ones than that, but you pick somebody up and you think you're dropping them off in an alley, and you're like, all right, have a great night. And they're like, oh, this is the first leg of the trip. They hop back in the car and they're like dead in the back of your seat. You're like, oh God.
I've done this exact same thing.
It's happened to you too?
Yeah, and I wasn't an Uber driver.
Oh God.
I don't know if I told this story before or not, but like I lived in Georgia when I worked after I sold my first shop. I moved to Georgia, and I was starting in a print shop there. And my buddies Brian and Chris drove down to just hang out with me. Like they were like, "Oh, we want to come see you. We haven't seen you in whatever, like 6-7 months." So they drove down. Literally, as soon as they pulled into my apartment complex, there was a guy like off in the distance who was like, hey buddy, can you give me a ride?" And like, obviously I'm staying right outside of my apartment. Like he knows where I live. So I'm like, fuck, I guess I gotta give this guy a ride. So literally Chris and Brian just got there, like just pulled in. I was like, all right, I guess, do you want to go for a ride with me? And they were like, yeah. So this guy gets up front with me and they're in the back seat. And he's just like, yeah, just, just like a mile down the road. I'm like, okay, I get there. And he's like, actually just take a right and like go a mile this way. And I'm like, okay. And then he's like, just like take a left here. I'm like, okay. And then we pull up to this like shack where there's like two guys standing outside of the door, just like hands crossed. We pull in and he's like, just hang out here for a minute. I'll be right back. And then as soon as he got out of the car, those two guys like walked in the door and this guy walked in the door. And I was like, this is a drug deal. This is 100% a drug deal. And the guy's like in the car while he's talking to us said he just got out of prison. Like, and he was like snapping his fucking drug nail. And then
like the little like,
yeah. And then he gets back in the car and he's like, oh, just take me like another, like mile up the road here. I'm like, dude, where are you going? Like, where are we taking you? He's like, oh, just drop me off at the hotel or whatever. I was like, okay. And then I tried to make a joke with him and I was like, he's like, oh, just pull down to the hotel. I was like, nah, dude, you got to tuck and roll. And like, he did not laugh at all. And I just pulled over on the side of the road by the hotel, let him out. And then that was literally like Chris and Brian's first experience of Georgia. And I was like, welcome to Georgia.
Wow.
And,
I would have so dipped out at when he went inside the drug house or whatever.
He knows where I live.
So?
Oh no. Yeah, you don't need that.
Yeah, I don't want to get fucking stabbed in the middle of the night because I finished this guy's fucking GTA directive out.
That's
all right.
awesome.
So you were Uber driving.
So you're an Uber driver.
Yeah, so I'm an Uber driver, and I'm driving one night, and I'm like on this Roosevelt Boulevard, which is this pretty crazy highway-esque road. And this car just freaking, it's a truck, swung out in front of me and I T-bone him. And I'm like I'm like in slow motion. It's like nighttime. It's a little rainy. I dropped off my passenger. And next thing I know, I'm like chasing this guy. My car was still moving enough. Whatever. We can skip this story and get to the fact that I had to go to a chiropractor after that. And doing graphic design.
Here we go with the back stuff, Dylan.
So doing the graphic design work from like an earlier age, my uncle was actually the chiropractor. He wanted business cards. Can you make me business cards? Sure. I make him business cards. Next thing he asked for was some t-shirts. It's like, okay, let me order them. I'm on Vistaprint. I'm looking at the different options. They had I think DTG, screen printing. And it was like screen printing had a minimum. Like, I don't know what that is, but let me just order these DTG shirts. And they came in and they were terrible. My uncle was like, what are these? He's like, I don't know. He's like, can we try something else? So I started researching the screen printing, and I've always taught myself things, whether it's like guitar, snowboarding, graphic design, so forth. So it really piqued my interest. So next thing I know, I'm looking for a screen printing press, and I'm living in Philadelphia, and this guy had an old Riley Hopkins, I guess from like the 80s. It was yellow. And next thing I know, I had to borrow a few bucks from my buddy, pick up that press, and I cleaned it all up with like a toothbrush and built it up in my room. So now I have this press. I don't know what the hell I'm doing with it. Obviously, I'm watching YouTube videos, trying to figure out how to work it. What's the first step? And there was a local screen printing shop right in Philly. So I went in there and I picked the guy's brain. He's like, we make screens here. So I'm at my house. My roommate at the time's dad owned a pallet company. And he has me on the phone with his dad. He goes, my dad wants 75 sweatshirts. It's like, what?
Sweatshirts is like the worst thing to start with.
I know. Exactly. And the platen was like this like rickety, linted up, uneven printing surface. Anyhow, I design the logo. I go get the screen made, bring it back. And what does he want on it? Luckily not white. It was just some like royal blue ink. I still remember I had triangle royal blue. And I sit in my room. I had it all laid out, heat gunning everything. And apparently they didn't watch out. So that was the beginning of the addiction.
So you did you just print Royal and then heat gun and then print Royal again? Like a print flash print and then
No, I didn't. It was just
heat gun
one
it again
hit.
to cure?
It was actually lighter hoodies. So luckily it was just like one hit and I couldn't believe I was able to do it. So it was a pretty big thrill as like, you know, the first job. But quickly I realized that, you know, it was something I wanted to delve further into. And shortly after, I moved to the beach. And that's where things got interesting. So
What beach?
Yeah. You're familiar with, like, right outside of Atlantic City, it's called Margate. It's like a pretty quiet town. So I move in.
I guess the Jersey
Utah.
Shore? The Jersey Shore?
Yeah, Jersey Shore. Yep.
All right.
It
Sounds
seemed like
nice.
the ideal situation. I'm going to be printing t-shirts, going to the beach, do a little surfing. And at that time, I was serving tables. And I bid on a Vaztec conveyor dryer and somehow got it for like $1,000.
Was that the D1000 that you had?
Yeah, my little baby D1000 that I still use. But prior to that, my buddy Chase, he had a couple of rappers he was filming. And I think like him wanting to help me out, help me get my first press. He was like, yo, we got to make shirts for these guys. So I didn't know how I'm going to make 100 shirts, like multicolor on this press. I didn't do it yet. I had an ironing board and a flash dryer. So I'm sitting there taking the shirts, putting it on an ironing board that I took the cloth off, and he would flash them, put them on the side. And that's when I was like, all right, I need a dryer, get the conveyor dryer. And my landlord's next door, like, you can't run a business in the garage. Like, what? Like, I don't know what you're doing. I was like, no, it's just a hobby. So that's kind of like where it all came from. But while I was there, I had to reclaim screens out back. I mean, you know how it goes starting off. What was it like for you guys?
Yeah, Andy was cleaning screens at the car wash like an asshole.
Before the car wash, I was cleaning screens on my deck. Like, and didn't matter if it was snowing or raining or hot as shit, didn't matter. So that's where we cleaned screens. It went into the grass and it was gnarly. But then that wasn't, for very long. Then I went to, like an asshole, I took him to the car wash and just lined the bay. You'd pull in and I'd put like, I don't know, 10 screens on one side of the bay, 10 on the other, and just go fucking up and down. It was fast. Like, it was a good way to do it.
Hey, that's awesome.
Just throwing plastisol at the wall so that every car that comes in gets covered in ink.
They weren't caked with plastisol. I mean, they were. Although that makes a better story.
Were you cleaning them that well before you brought them there?
I cleaned them a little. Yeah. I mean, I had to put them in. At the time, I had this Ford Explorer. I didn't want to fuck it up. So, I put like this, I had this plastic down and we'd stack them up, and I took my kid with me. He loved it. It was fun for him too. And we just, I don't know. That's how you got to do what you got to do. I mean, you were there too. You were curing. I did the same thing. I flash cured for, I don't know, maybe a year. I probably flash cured my shirts dry. Like, that's how I cured my shirts. I didn't do it on an ironing board, which is a good idea. I mean, I did it on the pallets and they got hot. Probably too hot sometimes, the pallets did, but that's how I got it done. I remember getting my first dryer. It was a 36-inch belt, and I want to say it was about 11 foot long total.
Wow.
And I put I want to say that maybe there was 3 flashes in there in like the heating chamber, 3 in a row. That's how it cured the shirts. And I remember the first job I ran, and I was putting shirts down the dryer, and I thought like, oh my gosh, this is, my life is forever changed. This is the way to do it. Felt really good.
Oh yeah.
But okay. continue with your story. So you were at the Jersey Shore.
We're at the Jersey Shore. It's like I'm working at a Greek restaurant, which was, bringing in the actual dough at the time. I was getting jobs. This is like when I'm first starting up and like really starting to get clients. And I have the conveyor dryer. I'm like my boss. I had like a 300 piece job that I decided for some reason to do discharge ink on. It was like my first experience in like the most humid environment I could find, as you can imagine. That little baby dryer wasn't doing the best job. So like I was like printing overnight to make it all happen. But I was like, Sophia, I have this order. And she's like, I can't really say the word, but she's like, this is my season. I'm like, oh God. So I was like really like busting my butt to get the jobs done while, working as a server. And then the pandemic hit. That's when things really kind of allowed me to fine tune and decide this is what I was really going to invest my time and energy into. Because
it also looks like you do a lot of like a studio, like art projects and stuff like that. Like, did you get into it for those purposes too, or were you more just like, I want to get jobs to make side money?
So in the beginning, I was like, I remember talking to my mom and I told her, hey Mom, I'm going to make a screen printing shop. And she had a friend who actually had one. So she kind of was like, sounds like a kind of a cool idea. But as far as the art studio, to tell you the truth, it was not so much to do an art studio, but to like keep on heading in the direction where one day I was going to have my own shop. And seeing, for instance, both of you and like the podcast, it kind of like brought me along the journey. And one of my best friends, John, he really helped me make this all possible. And I still remember like driving on this one road and like discharge ink. You actually were talking about like, if you have a roofer, you're not going to want them in a thick plasticell ink. Yeah. You're going to do something more breathable. So between all the information I would take in, it just like cemented the fact that I want to continuously evolve and kind of give myself the chance to like achieve the vision. And it's of course evolved from time to time. But as far as an art studio, I definitely see it being a little bit different than other shops. It's a place where I want to be creative and to kind of make it a fun spot for me, as I'm not a big shop, I'm a little guy.
And do you want to stay that way? Like keep it manual, or what do you want to have an auto and grow? I mean, what are your thoughts on that right now?
So in the short term, I kind of want to keep it as a smaller studio where I can kind of work like more intimately with different clients. In terms of, let's say, like different bands and so forth, I really enjoy like the process of helping them design, helping fine tune everything and know that every shirt that's being printed is coming from my hands. I can have full confidence that I'm putting out the best work I can.
Right.
And like, I put a lot of love and care into what I do.
So when did it become like a real thing? Like you were in a garage and you got to, I'm guessing it's when you got to your first space.
All right.
Real space.
So, there's so many things. So I moved to Philadelphia from the beach back to Philly. And I was living with my buddy, John, who I said really helped me. And I went into the basement. We had about like a 7 by 7 foot room. I brought down my press. I brought down my ink and all. And I'm like, this is like my little print shop. I thought it was cool. But I was printing discharge ink down there like a dummy. And I had like a little baby vent. And my friend's friend came in. He was about 45, a little older, had a little more knowledge. And he saw me down there with like a gas mask. I had like a hazmat suit on for some reason. It was like a painter. It was a painter suit. It was like all white. I don't know what the heck I was doing. He was like, listen, come with me tomorrow. I'm going to call you and I want to show you something. So he told me to come meet him over in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And he brings me to this little office building. I'm like, all right, cool. He walks me upstairs and he's like, this is where you're going to be. It was like an old gynecologist's office. I walk in, there's like tables with the stirrups. It was something that was like a little overwhelming. Like,
how many times did you try out that table with the stirrups? Be honest.
It was probably about like 6 or 7.
Okay, good.
I wouldn't say not any more than that. It was just like,
Wait, so
what would this be like?
This guy.
Perfect.
So Martin was his name. He was awesome. He kicked ass and he got me in there. And it was affordable. So it was like my testing ground. I got to knock down walls, bring the chameleon in, and that was a whole process of itself.
Why did you choose the chameleon? Because that's like, you went like full on press at that point. Like, if you're going to get a manual, you got an air clamp, side clamp, chameleon. Like, that's I'm serious and ready to press.
So knowing that this is what I wanted to do, I wasn't going to settle for anything like the press I had. If I pushed down on it, the whole press would basically lift up. The clamps were breaking. And I was really looking into like Vastex. And, I went to in Allentown and checked them out. And I don't know, something about listening to Shirt Show. I loved M&R, just like from
Good man.
like what everyone was using. It's just like, I'm like, I really want an M&R press and I wasn't going to settle for anything less. So I actually got this on auction, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah, during COVID, I was on this site BidSpotter. I thought I was going to get an automatic like a dumbass. Like, that would have been the worst mistake of my life. I'm like, dude, I'm going to get an automatic for $1,000. So the day of the auction, it went up to like 19 grand. I was like, what the? So then I started bidding on the chameleon. I'm like, all right. I'm like, this is what I'm going for. I'm like, I'm not ready for an automatic. What the hell am I thinking? So I went full force on this. I was battling whoever it was pretty hard. And I went a little bit over. Yeah, damn Ron. He made me spend a little extra. But I win the bid and I had to pick it up within like 2 weeks. So sure enough, me and my buddy flew out to Chicago and went to this spot Victory recording, which was kind of cool. And I got to see like what a real shop looked like in person. And that was really the start of the journey.
You didn't stop at M&R while you were in Chicago?
No.
Could have stopped in right then and there.
How did you transport it? Did you just rent a truck? You said you flew out to Chicago, and then what did you do? Rent a truck?
Yeah. So I rented a budget truck, and in the morning we get to the budget. There's some dude sitting in a van out front, and he's like, we're like, hello, it's like maybe like 15 degrees out. I'm like, we're both like freezing our asses off. We're supposed to pick up our van at 8:30 in the morning. And we're like, hey, what's going on? He's like, oh, waiting for the boss. So the boss comes in and I'm like, all right, so which truck are we taking? She's like, oh, well, the truck you're supposed to rent is being serviced. And it was like, the perfect size for what we had. She's like, but we're going to give you this one. It was like this giant truck that I was like, there's no way I'm driving that across the country. I'm like, I'm not a good driver. I can't take that. So the dude who was sitting in the little van, it was like a cargo van. I was like, I am not taking that truck. And she's like, all right, we can give you this. So she's like in there taking out his trash, cleaning with some like Lysol. And sure enough,
So it's just this dude's murder van that you took instead?
yeah, it was nice. It was like a smooth rider, but it just fit in there. Like everything fit perfectly. My friend has like the organizational skills of like one of those ladies on Netflix that like teach you how to reorganize your house.
Mm-hmm.
So he like puzzle pieced everything in with me and drove across the country, made some pit stops. It was great.
That's awesome. What is that, like a 14, 15-hour drive?
I think it was about 10 hours.
10? That's not bad at all.
Yeah, not bad. And made it into a fun thing.
That's cool.
We didn't kill each other on the way back.
Yeah.
So
you get into your space, and when did the whole, like, were you always good with like video and social media stuff, or did you just decide, okay, I'm in my space, I'm going to start documenting some things?
all right. So in my Cherry Hill space, one of my best friends growing up, Chase, he's a really talented videographer. And he came in and did a video for me, and it was a huge help. And I would ask him, like, hey, can I pay you to do some social media for me? He'd be like, just record yourself. Just record yourself. So eventually I took his advice and I was like, all right, I'll just throw my camera up. And being like pretty hands-on with the computer, I just kind of delved into it and said, all right, I'm just gonna lean into it.
Just do it, right?
Yeah, it's not something that I've like went into being like, I'm gonna be a screen printing social media dude. It's the last thing I really had on my mind, because I really actually don't like social media. It kind of sucks, but
yeah,
I'm sure you both know how that goes.
Yeah.
I think that's how we discovered you, is that from that, basically that, I don't know if it's a GoPro, but whatever that overhead shot is that goes down onto, I think it was a Chameleon, it must be, and you're spinning your press, and that's how we all discovered you, and so it turns out to be not such a bad thing, even though, you hate social media, it got you attention.
Yeah. And it's really kind of changed my life in terms of the way that I'm looking at business, because, I knew being like in the creative space was something that could really kind of bring more business and so forth, but it wasn't something I really needed to invest my time in. Now I'm realizing that becoming a better video editor and like upgrading things can really, bring things together in a way that I can share what I'm doing and kind of inspire other people. So,
do you feel like it's a thing now where you feel like you have to keep up with it? Like, you're not necessarily like, I want to make a video of this, but like, I need to keep the ball rolling with this? Or
to an extent, it's like, I know that it's important to post to keep the ball rolling, but it's like more of a hunger to push things to the next level, where anything I do, I always want to be the best I can be. And I have fun making videos when I have the time. It's like a way for me to be creative. I know like screen printing in itself is a way, like an outlet for me to be creative, but then taking that and using it as a way to like tell a story or to share my experience is something I really enjoy. And when you say the overhead shot and how like they caught your eye, I don't know what the hell I was doing, but I was like, this looks kind of cool. I was like, I don't know how I started spinning the press, but it looked cool on camera, and I was like, Next thing I knew, my video went kind of haywire. And
were you mostly posting on Reels, or were you posting on something else first, like
a
just TikTok
Reels
or something? Reels?
No, my TikTok, I have like 1 or 2 videos on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like that invested in other social media. I'm starting to trickle in, but primarily I'm focused on building my shop and improving my infrastructure. And when it comes to being creative with the video, I've got some new ideas I'll be putting out shortly, but
I feel like socials is one of those things where like I used to be super invested in Instagram and all that other stuff, but like I was also more hands-on at that point. Like I feel like it's way easier for me to take photos and video and post to socials when like I'm out in the shop or we're doing projects because I want to document it and all this other stuff. So that's why it works really well for you, is because you're printing, you're setting up a camera and you're like, hey, I'm going to do this, whatever. But I feel like I kind of lost touch with it a little bit when it came to being like, I'm in the office most of the day, or I'm like traveling, or I'm doing this or doing that. Is like I'm not there to like get content. So I feel like you have that advantage. Just like it's you and it's your thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean, because I'm kind of divide my time up. I'm doing invoices, doing artwork, doing ordering, printing, doing social media. And like being a larger shop where, you know, everyone has their role, it is difficult to be like, you know what, I'm going to pop here and do some videos when your time's like more important to be spent, you know,
doing work,
keeping everything. Yeah. Doing work. Yeah. I know.
How did your social media presence, you know, how did that help convert to sales, or how did that help your business grow, or did it?
It definitely did. I think it gives me a chance to have a platform to connect with people in other parts of the country. And I really have gotten some great clients from the whole, social media presence. I would say during the peak when things were going haywire, it was so overwhelming that my best friend Matt Majiri was helping me with the emails. I had my quote forms like blowing out through the roof. I had people from other countries asking for things. And I had to like kind of filter through like, all right, what's a serious inquiry versus what's something that is actually worth my time and like someone I want to work with. Because some clients, they don't even know what screen printing is. They're like, can I have like they want DTG basically, but expect me to do it. Like they think I just swipe the squeegee on the screen and there's like a 12 color image. But
yeah, I think that's what's hard about Instagram inquiries anyway, and cool videos and stuff like that, because a lot of times, you know, you'll grab their attention and then they'll message you. And that's like the hardest way to go about determining an order or getting an order. Like whenever we're contacted on Instagram and we get a message, let's say, I can hardly answer it. And I refer directly to, you know, a client or an account manager, because it's a lot of times Instagram attracts the wrong kind of customer that is going to direct message you. The right kind of customer sees your portfolio or sees your Instagram posts and says, hey, this looks like a cool shop. I need some shirts. And then they contact you like with an email or with a phone call or whatever it is. They're not direct messaging you, if that makes sense. I don't know if you've experienced the same thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, during the peak, I decided to say no orders will be taken through DMs. Like send them to my link tree. There was the quote form. I turned off my phone number. And the inboxes, they'll send you like really obscure mock-ups where like you try not to be rude when it comes to that kind of stuff, but you know, I can tell a client that is like someone I want to work with. And for me, a phone call is very important. Any job I'm doing, I'm basically on the phone with the client. I really don't like to take any kind of job without some kind of verbal communication. And that's just so I can get a better feel of their vision for the project. And
that's interesting.
Yeah, I know that's a little obscure and kind of slows things down.
No, I fucking love it. I wish my people would be on the phone more. I feel like we've had this discussion a few times where it's like, it's so much easier to just get, like you said, the feel or what they're trying to do or a quick answer to just call them. So I love that you're like all about calling them instead of like waiting for a reply for a day or two with an email.
Yeah. And I've had people give me feedback on that they really, really appreciate the way that I kind of communicate with them and make it feel like I do really care about the project. And that's why I say, like, I work with some people consistently that's one of the main reasons. And one of my favorite clients out in California, it's like a farm to table pizza wine shop. They're Pinion, and they work with a graphic designer, and the three of us will get on calls and have like really nice threads. And it's just nice to kind of feel like creative, and we're working towards a common goal of like putting out the best thing possible.
Right.
Versus just like, all right, what do you want? Here it is. Have a good day. See you later. So
yeah, it's nice to have that. It's kind of as face to face as you can get, I guess.
Yeah.
Being on the phone with them.
Or like, for instance, I have a client I was just on the phone with. She has a fashion show coming up, and she'll like come in, we'll talk in person. I kind of just try to be very personable and try to make it's me and the client. And that's, I don't know why people want to work with me, possibly consistently. I don't know. I'm just doing what I'm doing and hoping it.
I feel like best, that's exactly what we're all doing. That's how we would describe it. I heard you were a close neighbor to Max at Birdwatchers.
Yep. Max is awesome. He's
how close is he?
Well, now that I'm in his building, he's one floor above me on the other side of the building. Nice. So yeah, he's a really cool dude. So story goes, I come into the building and my friend Chase was trying to get me into any room. And when I walked in, I saw Birdwatchers. What? It sounds really familiar. Then I remembered that I listened to his podcast, and we knock on his door, and he's like, got his headphones in. He's like, yo, what's going on? We're like, not much. Chase introduces himself. He's, I'm downstairs. I have the music studio, and I like introduced myself a little bit, and turned out my friend was like playing loud music. Max was like being right above him. You know, he's
and cool didn't dude. Love it.
Yeah, he didn't. I'm not trying to say what he said, but he was like, yeah, there's a little peephole. He could put his mouth down. He was like, shut the F up. Like, get it out of here. Whatever. I understand. So my friend's annoying as hell.
Did you tell him like, hey, I'm opening a screen printing shop like in the same building?
All right. This is how it went down. I had to get out of my Cherry Hill studio because there was a methadone clinic being built below it. And I was like, yo, you're looking for some help. I'm looking for a spot. Maybe there's a chance I can bring my stuff and we can link up. But it was not going to be an easy situation. So I kind of was like, let me find my own spot. And since I moved into the other spot, me and Max have like, hung out in his studio, chilled, talk. We like converse about different print things and just life. And he tried to teach me how to play pool. I'm just so terrible.
That's what I was going to say is like, did you guys play a lot of pool? Because that seems to be all he wants to do.
Yeah. Now Max is, he's quite the pool player. And he's like, show me some pointers, but I'm just so bad. I don't think there's any saving me. I don't know. It's that maybe my arms are uneven. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what the deal is, but
he's trying to hustle you.
Yeah, no, he just got back from a flat stock convention out in Austin, and he kicked some ass out there. He's really been doing a lot more of his artwork, and Yeah, you should check up on him. He's really doing some cool stuff
That's
right
awesome.
now.
Yeah, we should hit him back up.
We both want to know the name. Where'd you get it from? How'd it come about?
All right. So, like I said, I like to do graphic design work. And back in the day, I don't know, something about Nick Cage from an early age. My dad would put on all of his movies, and I kind of always like had a thing for watching his movies with friends and photoshopping their faces as Nick Cage and putting, the whole deal. You've seen him on the internet all over. So during the pandemic, my first name was actually Seaside Inc. And then it kind of evolved to the point where I was making Nick Cage shirts for fun. And I'm like, so I go on, I get the domain name. I'm like, CAGEHEAD. That'd be perfect to sell Nick Cage faces. So I get that. And it's that summer. I'm like, I'm chilling. I'm with some friends, and my buddy's girlfriend got back from California, and she brought back edibles. So we're living in a house with like 6 people, and it's during COVID. So it's like, you're only around the people that you're really around all the time. Like, you're not going to be like, hey, come on over. Yeah. So we're all hanging, and my friend Scro, he's an author, and he's a little bit out there. He did something to the edibles that I was not aware of. So I sat down next to him and I ate 2 edibles. And after I ate them, it was maybe a few minutes later, he goes, wouldn't it be really funny if you like dose your friends? And I was like, no, that'd be terrible. Yeah, I'm like, I have anxiety disorder, man. Don't do that. So anyway, I'm upstairs going to bed, and I'm laying in my bed, and I had this vision, and I was like thinking like CAGEHEAD, and I came up with in my mind this idea of a guy in a suit with the head. And I hopped up out of my bed, and I got on Photoshop, and that's how my logo came about. And while I'm making it, my freaking screen was waving and morphing. Like the color palette, you know how you have the palette on the side?
Yeah.
I thought I was like, something's not right here. These aren't edibles. So I go down, I'm like, Scro. I'm like, what did you do? Did you lace these things? And he's like, no. And then like a week later, we're at the beach. He's like, you're welcome, man. Like, I'm like, dude, I could have killed myself. What are you doing?
By any chance,
so anyway,
did your friend live in Atlanta and ask for a ride one day from Dylan?
He might have. No, he's a pretty awesome dude, but he's like
super trustworthy.
Yeah, so he actually is. He's a good guy, Scro. So during that summer, we're like,
his name's fucking Scro.
Yeah, Skrosky. Well, it's really Michael Skrosky. He's the coolest dude in the world that I probably like, just very out there, but like. We were bleaching shirts, doing some like bleach dyes, and he would like bleach the shirt like on his hand. I was like, Scro, you can't spray your hands with bleach. They're like deteriorating. He's like, they're making me stronger. Like he's out there, but awesome. Anyway, that's where CAGEHEAD came from. Kind of, a little weird, but I stuck with it, and I really stand behind the name, and I've had people tell me to change it.
Oh, fuck that. It's good.
Yeah.
Especially if they don't know what it's from, and it's just like an obscure name, but then you can't tell that from your logo that it has anything to do with Nick Cage.
At this point, it doesn't.
Yeah. What's your favorite Nick Cage moment or movie?
I would say it changes from time to time, but lately, Weatherman. Have you ever seen it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Lately, I feel like I've been having like a lot of food thrown at me, metaphorically speaking. So I'm really resonating with this character in Weatherman, and it's been kind of awesome.
Dylan, what's your favorite Nick Cage movie?
My favorite Nick Cage movie? I really like Face Off.
Dude, that's what I was going to say for sure.
Can't go wrong.
National Treasure, I always liked. But Con Air, I mean, you can't beat Con Air.
Yeah.
Come on, the locks, the accent. Fuck. Then you got what? Raising Arizona on your shirt?
Yeah, that's right. It's actually a hybrid of my favorite cartoon from when I was younger. If you ever watched Futurama,
With the heads.
I put him in a little tube. You know,
That's awesome.
A little halftone work.
It looks great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Have either of you seen Valley Girl?
No. What the? How's
It's just
Valley Girl?
Another Nick Cage movie. He's from the wrong side of the. He's from the wrong side of the tracks, and he has a relationship with the Valley Girl. It's great, classic, like an '80s movie.
I mean,
yeah, young Nick Cage.
He's so over the top, and I had a girlfriend who like would get mad at me. I'd fall asleep in like every movie, and there was this. I actually forgot the name of it. But he is in an arcade and he doesn't talk the whole time. It's like all the figures. It's like Chuck E. Cheese come to life.
It's not that old. It's like 2 years old or 3 years old.
2 years old. And I would definitely.
And then Mandy. That movie's fucking insane.
God, I love Mandy. That thing. I feel like that's where he like really came back and started kicking ass.
And now he's in that vampire movie as Dracula. It looks pretty crazy. It's not out yet. I think it comes out in like a week or two.
I think he's probably been in like 40,000 movies at this point. Some good, some bad. But
yeah. We used to watch, there's this YouTube video of Nick Cage Freaks Out. It's what it's called, I think. And it's like all of his best freak out moments. And there was this one where basically like I can't remember what movie it's from, but he's like walking in the streets like with his head back and he's just like, oh, and we do it here all the time when like something gets fucked up or a screen pops or whatever. We'll like drag the screen behind us and be like, oh, like the Nick Cage moan.
Damn, I need to implement that. I could do some of that here.
Yeah, I want to see it in one of your reels.
Oh yeah.
We got a ton of listener questions. A lot of them were about your social media stuff. So I tried to pick and choose a couple of them if you want to hear some of them.
Sure. Let's go ahead.
Okay. Let's see. Mike Chisholm Photography says, what was it like when your first video really popped off?
Pure mayhem. No, I'm kidding. When my first video popped off, it was really weird how it happened. I was visiting my buddy in Colorado, and I noticed that my video started getting more likes. It started getting more followers, and then when it really started taking off, it was pretty insane. I'm not going to say it was a fun time. It really wasn't. Social media has caused me some distress, and when it blew up initially, it was pretty cool. I'm like, I was enjoying it. Things were fun, but it was a lot to figure out. Could you imagine going from like just your standard word of mouth jobs to being reached out to by like hundreds of people?
Yeah.
And you're like still just one guy, not many people to help you like filter it all in. So I was a little overwhelmed. It was a little crazy.
But the cool part is you kept up with it though. Like you decided to keep going with it.
Yeah. So, and by keep going with it, it was something where I realized like I already was making reels before it went viral, but I was really just like, I'm just going to keep being me and keep on heading towards the ultimate goal, which is to just progress and eventually be where I want to be.
Yeah. These next two questions kind of, I feel like, go together a little bit with the same topic. Disney Screen Brings, and we talked about this a little bit, but I don't know if you kind of have any somewhat metrics on it, but Disney Screen Brings says, the likes or follows turn into actual paying customers. I understand it's important to have a strong social media following, but how much of it turns into actual sales? Do you know now, I guess, as your business is growing, what's just like local word of mouth versus what's like internet sales? Like, do you see that the internet sales is growing or the internet sales is kind of plateaued, or how is that going with your posts?
So when it comes to internet sales, I can definitely say that it definitely turns into sales, but you have to filter through the bullshit. Like I said,
Yeah.
there's plenty of people reaching out that while I appreciate it, it's not something that I'm like ready to convert, because taking some clients, it's going to be too much of a process. But for instance, like I have a guy up in New York who's awesome. He has a spot called Happy Days. A great client that I work with over and over, EP who's like been a great client. I've got even local people that are just repeat customers. And when it comes to acquiring new ones, I just really try to vet them through a phone call, because I don't have time as one person to
Deal with the bullshit.
allow much distraction. Yeah. So to answer Disney's question, definitely can turn into real paying customers that are great clients and you can build a relationship with. And it's something that I definitely want to keep honing in. And I'm lucky enough to have also been given recommendations from other clients I've acquired from social
Right.
media.
Nice.
So it's still like word of mouth still works. From
Would you guys agree
customers
that
get from there.
I don't think there's really any way to measure how much your social media converts to actual sales? Because I'm the same way. So if I'm looking at a restaurant or I don't know, if I'm looking at a tattoo shop or whatever, I hit up their Instagram and look what's on their Instagram. And I may never even contact them on Instagram. I may never even call them. I may just show up at their place, and so I think that happens here. I think that people show up at our front counter, they've seen us on Instagram and they place an order. And so you don't really know what Instagram or any social media's true measure is of what it's doing for you. I don't think there's any way you can, unless you're at the front counter asking them, like, how'd you hear about us? And they share that information. I mean, we've asked that before on our contact form on our website. There is a how'd you hear about us section. And so if they share that, that's cool. Like, oh, Instagram, or I drove by your shop, or a friend, or whatever it is. It's good to know that sort of stuff. But would you agree that it's really hard to measure what your social media does for you?
I think so to a degree, though, because it's kind of like I used to be heavy into Instagram and socials, and I would get a lot of business through DMs. But then, like I said, when I started dwindling off of it, like I obviously don't get as many of those DMs anymore. I feel like most of the shit for me on Instagram anymore is like other print shops that I talk to. It's like not even customers. It's like a lot of it is just other shops talking to each other, which is fine. Like that's cool. Like that's kind of what I want anyway. But like when I was hard into posting, I was getting a lot of inquiries at least. But like you said, it's a lot of bullshit. There might be like 10 bullshit ones and then like 2 good ones.
Yeah, and people a lot of times will even reach out, hey, how do I do what you're doing? Like, what do I need to do to start? So it's kind of cool on that sense where it's like kind of inspiring new people, just like I was inspired by you guys, inspired by like Lee Stewart, Golden Press, Ryan, like seeing just all different people and inspirations across the industry. So while it's like the business side, I also enjoy sharing the process, and it's not always about the sales for me on social media. So it's not like my main drive behind it. It's like an outlet for me. And
it's like a creative outlet.
I guess to wrap up the conversion of sales, I don't have a way to definitely know everything's from social media, but on my contact or my quote form, the bottom, how do you hear about us? Most people will say Instagram. I just like also love working with artists, and for instance, hey, can you do this for me? Sure. Then it's like I did something for this band. Now they recommend me to another band. That band recommends me to another band. You know what I?
Yeah.
It's the trickle down effect, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to butcher this probably, but I think it's Alphonse Fiala asked, can you share digital marketing hacks or incorporate into a high quality Instagram reel? Like, is there anything that you do that's special when you post a reel, or things that you do specific to make sure it tries to get to more people?
Yeah. So lucky enough that my friend Chase, he's very savvy with the whole social media realm, and he taught me a couple tips. Let's just say they are hacks. And for instance, when you're on an Instagram reel, you want to kind of up the engagement level and like the amount of time someone's viewing your video. Instagram registers, okay, how long is somebody watching your video? Are they watching the whole video? So one thing that I was taught early on was have a video that's digestible and not too long. Now, I would recommend keeping your reels shorter and experiment with that, where you can allow a viewer to see the whole video, which then might push it further into the Instagram algorithm. And on top of that, you want to incorporate shorter cut, like something that's visually stimulating. Now, a big reason why I think my one post went viral was the fact that there were two things going on at once. So you can kind of bring in more visual stimulation. You can't have something that's boring. People don't have the attention. They're like, all right, out. I'm out.
Quicker cuts.
You know?
Yeah, there was a couple things that I had heard recently that kind of were cool, and me and Tony were actually talking about this, where showing the product first so that they know like what the video is going to be about, rather than sitting there through the whole thing to see like what it's going to be at the end, and then making a video that basically loops so they don't know that they're watching it a second time necessarily.
Oh yeah, the old looparoo. So
the old looparoo.
Yeah, so the loop, it's definitely something where you kind of want to trick them into seeing it again. Before they know it, they might have watched it 3 times. My videos with me with the spinning press was the perfect example. I start stationary at the press, and if you look, the end of the video, I'm in the same position as the beginning. So to them, they're seeing the press spinning, they're seeing me putting stuff on the dryer. They already watched it 2 or 3 times. So if you can create that effect in that way, that's one thing. Then if you're doing an actual video, I feel like giving these tips can help a lot of people, but in order to loop, here's what I'm going to tell you. If you take a clip that's your beginning clip and you film, say, me walking into a door and sitting onto this couch. Now, the beginning of my video is going to be me sitting on this couch. The end of the video is actually preceding this, me walking in, clip that in half, bringing that to the end. So at the end of the video, I'm walking up to the couch and we're back at the beginning of the video of me sitting down. And that's a way to loop a video in a different style that you're seeing new visual information, and that kind of pulls you back to the beginning. And it's just, is it important? I don't know, but it's kind of fun to experiment with, and it definitely ups your engagement level.
If we're going to do the social stuff, we have to play the game. You know what I mean? We can't just post stuff that we think is creative on its own. We have to think of ways of like, this is creative and fun for me, but also I have to play the game. Like, you might not want to necessarily loop your video or make it look like it's going to loop, but in order to get people to see your creative art that you made, you have to make it loop, or you have to do it a certain way, or you have to make it 10 seconds or whatever, so that more people can see it, because everything's based on a fucking algorithm anymore.
I think you're overthinking it. I think it's just you just take your shirt off.
Oh yeah. Well, listen.
Isn't that the trick?
Well, I'm on my bulking diet right now. That's why I'm eating these blueberries. All right. So I can't take the shirt off until like a couple more months. But
he's going on the sex appeal angle.
Yeah, man. I've had people say that before. Yeah, just take your shirt off. But, you know, my areolas are private now. I'm trying to keep them to myself.
AWOL Print Shop says, who has the best cheesesteak in Philly?
All right. Now, AWOL, I love that guy. I haven't met him, but very cool dude. All right. Best cheesesteak in Philly. I'm on a quest. I'm still on a quest to find the best cheesesteak, and it's coming to an end. Last night was actually my last cheesesteak for a while. I went to Pat's Cheesesteaks, which is a pretty famous spot. It's been around since the 1930s. Get a little whiz, a little extra onion, and it's delicious. I would say,
glorious.
Yeah, it was glorious. Honestly, I followed up with Insomnia Cookie, which is a pretty cool spot around here. Mm-hmm. My cholesterol is through the roof. It's bad. I'm telling you. I look like I could be in shape. It's bad.
I feel like it's one of those things where, like, I'm in New York and everyone's like, "Oh, what's the best New York pizza?" I feel like there are definitely places that have amazing pizza, but there's so many different ways to make it and make it similar, like New York style, that you're like, well, this place is amazing, but this place is also amazing. Like, there's no like one go here and have the best fucking New York pizza. It's the same in Philly. Like, I'm close enough where like I've had a lot of different places in Philly and they all make them different. You know what I mean? It's not like they're all competing with the exact same bread, exact same meat. I mean, as long as you're getting like meat and whiz,
right?
And
you're pretty solid.
You're good. It's just, you know, was one soggy as fuck or was one like fresh? Like, did the meat taste good or was it chewy? Like,
so Geno's, they don't chop. Pass across the street, they chop it. Right. That's one difference. Then it's like seeded rolls versus unseeded. I actually am lucky enough to be friends with like one of the best bread makers in the world right around here. And like, if I get the cheesesteak, bring it home and dump it on their roll, I'd be in heaven.
Perfect. Yeah.
But, do you guys know how to order a cheesesteak in Philly?
Don't say Philly cheesesteak.
No, like when you go up, if you're like, when you're ordering, because you get reprimanded.
I'm not sure the perfect way. What is it?
All right, so you just have to go. If you want onions, you say with, and then you say your cheese. You just go like you say your cheese first. You go whiz with. That's it.
Right.
Like if you're like,
I knew the whiz thing.
Fried onions.
I knew the whiz thing, and I knew it was kind of taboo to say like a Philly. You would just say like I want, like you said, like I want one with whiz.
Yeah, you're like American with, provolone with.
Right.
And that's it. And
what
if you say
happens,
more than that, they're like, get the fuck out of here.
What happens if you ask for ketchup on it?
The ketchup you put on yourself. Yeah. They're like, you know, here's a napkin. Get out of here. The cheesesteaks are going through the roof too, just like ink prices and all the other materials. Mm-hmm. We're up to $15 a cheesesteak.
I mean, I'll still eat it. All right, last listener question. Gorilla Joe asks, isn't that the guy from the marketing videos for Rush Order Tees?
That is correct. So, I am in the marketing videos for Rush Order. So I'm friends with the owner. Being in Philadelphia, I'm not too far away from Rush Order Tees. And reached out, asked for a little help with socials, and you know, I pop in there and do the thing.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
How have you? So you've hung out at their facility because they got a pretty big shop there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I'm in there. I'm learning some additional things in the realm of printing and like running a successful shop. and teaching him some more about socials.
That's cool.
You know what's interesting about that though? The rush order. I don't know if you did this one, but the one that was pretty viral was when you kind of put ink across the screen, different color ink across the screen, and then blend it, right? And that gets people's attention. You know, you watch that because it looks cool. It's not practical because you would never want to print like that. You know, it's miserable, in fact, but it gets people's attention. So I guess it does the job. You know, if you're just, like you said, you're scrolling through next, and you come across this cool looking thing and you stop and you watch it. And so I guess that it served its purpose.
Yeah. They're doing some cool things, and definitely we love to experiment with many inks. I'm talking very colorful. What I'll say is that it's really nice, and like I've only been there for about 2 months, but I go in just about once or twice a week to help out. And
so you're still doing it?
It's like during the slow season, it was a great opportunity, and I'm doing it, just going in and helping out. And
that's pretty sweet though, because
pretty busy.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's pretty sweet though, because you kind of get some like work experience with a very large shop, and you kind of get like an insider look at certain things.
Yeah, it's really been a great experience for me because I'm also working by myself very often. So just being like part of a social media team, I'm like pushing my knowledge in social media further, getting better at editing videos, getting to learn more about how a larger facility works, the autos, everything. It's been something where it's opening my mind to ways to be more efficient. It's pretty awesome.
That's cool. Andy, do you have any questions for us or anything else that you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd like to know, if being in my shoes, I'm not wearing any right now, but I kicked
being
them off,
in my metaphorical shoes.
Yeah, being in my metaphorical shoes, I'm trying to decide the right time to actually hire a full-time employee. And of course I have help here and there. I pay people to come in and help when I need it, but I am also in the boat where I'd like to take things to the next level and have more of a team.
Mm-hmm.
So when do you feel like is the right time, and like what's the best way that you found to do that when you first started up?
Andy, do you want to take it or do you want me to?
You go first. We'll take it a little bit, maybe.
I don't think there's ever a right time necessarily. I feel like the only right time would be is if you can financially afford another human being, because it's going to be super expensive as far as like that's your number one expense is payroll. I think it should be something where you decide in the shop what you're passionate about. If you're passionate about printing, then you hire someone to run the office. If you like the office, then you hire someone to do printing. And I think I've learned, and I've said on this podcast a ton, is like, it was the best thing I ever did is to hire somebody. And for my situation in the office, the best thing I ever did was hire an assistant to do my emails, because then it freed me up to do like working on the business. And that person I hired to do my emails was like my first customer service person. And now I have like 4 of them. So that to me was the best thing of like, oh shit, I don't have to answer this. Like you said, like with the DMs of getting, I might get 100 DMs of people wanting shirts. Imagine if you could just create the videos, but you never had to deal with those people.
Yeah, it would be pretty amazing. And I've even had people reach out to me and ask to work for me. And someone even recently who we've been in contact a few times, and he wants to do like inside sales. He owned a DTG company and wants to get back in the print industry. And it's something I really want to bring him on. It's just like knowing how to hire my first like true employee, and like,
Yeah.
am I going to be able to, like you said, financially support this in the long term? But it's like, if I have somebody helping me move things forward quicker, who knows? Maybe it's the best decision ever.
It could be.
Yeah, I think you need to think about it. I think you need to think about your business as a separate entity. You know, it's not you, although I get it because you are so invested financially and invested emotionally and all these things. But think of it separately because, you know, if you're not there, for instance, it won't run in your case right now because you're the only person, you know, you're the only employee of this separate entity. And so I think it's important to make sure that this thing continues to run, and you can only do that if you hire somebody. And I know it's risky because you have to commit to that salary. Like Dylan said, that's a huge expense, but you're never going to grow. Never, you know, unless you get somebody and to help you. And I think that you just, my advice is always, yes, hire somebody. Just do it because maybe it will cost you initially at first. You know, you're not going, that extra, whatever it is every week is going to hit a little bit hard, but it'll free you up, just like Dylan said, and you can work on the business and you can grow it, and it will pay for itself tenfold or whatever. You know what I mean? You're going to be able to pay for that person's salary easily, but you're not going to ever grow. And I'm not saying, maybe your intentions aren't to grow. I don't know. Maybe you just love chilling by yourself and doing your thing, and you like that size. It kind of sounds like you want to be a little larger. And so my advice is that, you know, it's a separate entity. It needs to be able to function with or without you. So hire somebody.
Yeah. I think the other thing to note though is it's not all sunshine and rainbows though too, because once you hire somebody, you have to get, you know, the payroll thing, and then you have to pay for that, and then it's also like workers' comp, and then you have to also as small as it is. I know Andy's going to battle me on this, but as small as it is, now you're an HR person because that person's going to have thoughts and feelings, and they're going to have issues, and they're going to call in and this and that. So like, just be conscious of like, it's not going to be the same world anymore. It's not going to be you getting up whenever you want to get up, having laced edibles and showing up to work. Yeah. It's going to be like, you got to be there somewhat on time, and you're in charge of this person, and this person's going to have thoughts and feelings and everything. So like, it's going to be a different world. It's not going to be your creative studio that you walk into and you play whatever music you want to play all day long. Now you have another person there that's got their own thoughts and feelings as well. So I would just say be mentally prepared for it's going to be different. It's not going to be necessarily your show. I don't know who's playing super loud music, but they're fucking jamming right now.
Oh, I live in Philly. It's fucking sorry for the language, but it's crazy here. They're like, my tires might be slashed outside right now. I'm not sure.
Dylan, but, all of what you said was accurate for sure. But I think that your business gets better. I think that
it definitely does. I just don't want to say like, yeah, do it. It's going to be awesome. I just want you to be aware of like real world things that you're going to have to. Yeah,
you're right. It's like interpersonal relationships and being able to find a balance between, like you said, Andy, separating myself from the business, and it needs to be able to run when I'm not here. I think that's the biggest takeaway, is that in order for me to have this business, I have to start stepping in that direction, because it's too much weight on my shoulders to be doing everything myself.
Yeah, agreed.
And then Dylan, I could see that being a problem. Being an HR person, I'm going to have to be able to handle a lot of situations. So I'm sure you've learned as you've grown, and you're always learning. So
yeah. I just think it's it's different. Like, you might be a certain personality where you've been great so far because it's you and it's your own feelings and whatever. But like, you might be super anal about things, and you're like, I always put my spatulas here and I make sure this is this way and this is this way. And then someone else comes in, like a roommate, and they put their spatulas over here, or they might not wipe this down the way that you wipe it down. And then you're pulling your hair out the whole time because you're just like, why can't they be me 2.0?
All right. This just happened last week, literally. All right. So my buddy Harrison, he's super creative and just like, he's in some of the more recent videos, but a huge help. We just went to the expo together. And like, he doesn't know how to print. He's not a printer. He doesn't do anything in the print realm, but he's been a huge help in different ways. And I was teaching him how to clean screens and how to, use little easy way products. And I'm like, all right, so you need to scrub on the degreaser dehazer. And like, here's how you're gonna do it with the brush. And then you need to power wash. Then you need to flood it with the hose, flip it, so forth. And then I had him do it, and I didn't say it the right way. I'm like, how come I just showed you to do it like this, and you're going, like this? And it's like, I can't be so anal, or whatever you want to say. Like, you're right. Like, someone's gonna put this here, and someone's gonna put it there, and it's like, if they're putting it somewhere, that's better than having nobody to help.
Right. Exactly.
So I think I really have to let go of that kind of stuff and realize there is no me 2.0. It's just me getting help and allowing the help to learn and to be able to teach them in a way that they can at least have the right knowledge, but not like expect them to do every single thing exactly how I'm going to do it.
Right. And the bright side of that is sometimes they do it a lot better than you thought you could do it, which happens more often than not. Like they'll dive into their space and they'll take on shit that you're like, oh, I never thought of that. And then you're proud of them. And then you step away and.
Exactly. Wow. I agree with that totally. And I think that there's something to be said for having a team, just that energy, that different sort of energy when there's a team working on a project than if you're solo. It just happens every day, at our shop. And so sure, sometimes you get shitheads, like Dylan said, that, you hire and then a few months later, you're like, man, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, this is a total shithead and you got to get rid of them. But most people aren't that way. Most people are good, and so most people are, I've found anyway. And so sometimes you have to go through a few shitheads though, until you find the right one. And
sometimes they work at Taco Bell.
Yeah, sometimes.
Hey.
And, do you believe in third chances, Dylan? No.
I believe in 12th chances. No, I'm kidding. So, yeah, I remember, at least from previous podcasts, you like to bring someone in who has no idea, right, about printing, where you can really like teach them, like not bring their other habits in, per se. Is that something that you still kind of stand by?
I most of the time I don't have a choice. Like I do prefer that. I do prefer to bring somebody in who's like fresh and green and doesn't know, and they don't have any bad habits, and we can mold and teach them the way that we want to teach them. But I'm also in the middle of fucking nowhere. So like most of the people aren't going to have any screen printing experience anyway. So I don't really have a choice. But I mean, it is what it is. Like if you know the person, you know the work they're doing, and I feel like if their situation wasn't that they got fired or that they were the toxic person in another shop, they just had to move because of a reason, or, there was something outside of screen printing that had to have them leave that job to come work at your place, then I feel like it might be okay. Like they might be a good person and they might show you a thing or two. But if someone's just looking for a screen printing job and you don't know exactly why they're leaving, then I would be cautious.
Okay, that's good to know, because that'll help me. Someone reached out to me last week, was in the mortgage industry, and said they live in the neighborhood and they're interested in printing or like working with me.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to get back just yet, but I'm like, mortgage.
I think the biggest thing I would say with anybody, experience or no experience, is tell them right up front, there's a trial period. You can make it as long as you want. Like we do a week where we're like, hey, you work here for a week, and on Friday, or Saturday, I'm going to call you and say like, this is going to work or it's not, because you'll know in a 40-hour work week if that person's full of shit or not. You know what I mean?
I like that.
I have three things to that. one, we do a trial day, not a week. I know a week would be better, but we just do one day and we decide at the end of the day if they're a good fit or not. And I present it like, before you commit to working here and you're putting your 2 weeks wherever you are, whatever, just make sure this is something you like. And so let's try it for a day. The second thing is I would always hire positivity. Like, I don't care if you've never been in the shop or around screen printing or even own a t-shirt. If you're a positive person, then that's what I look for, because I can teach you how to screen print in a few months, not a big deal. That person's back that's got his boom box or whatever.
Yeah.
And what was the last thing? Oh yeah. The final thing is that if the dude's from a mortgage industry or whatever, or it doesn't matter what industry, if they're an accountant, sometimes people are looking for a change in a career because they're like, I don't want to do that anymore. Or they're in the mortgage industry and it's shit, it's gone to shit, I think. And so maybe they're looking for something like a change of pace and they want to work with their hands instead of the mortgage industry. I'm not trying to shit on the mortgage industry. Maybe it's great. Yeah. I'm sure.
It's like it's like my buddy
that's my side job.
Yeah, my buddy in the Gildan board, Christy. She worked at a bank. She was like a big deal at a bank. And even like Christina, like she was a teacher, and then they were just like, "This isn't for me. This is not what I want to do." And now they work in the print industry, and it's like they're great, great at what they do now. It's just they decided that they didn't want that corporate job.
Exactly. And sometimes in my head, I'm like, shit, you're leaving something where you're getting way more money than I can pay you. And so I was like, are you sure this is something you want? Because you're not going to make as much money, but they're looking for happiness a lot of times. They're not happy where they are. Yeah, they're looking for something different. So it works,
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's nice to know, because the trial period, I think that's something that I need to keep in mind. And also that I don't need to find someone who's necessarily in the art, realm, or somebody who's like, oh, I printed, or knows anything about the process. I just need to see if I can work well side by side with them.
You need to be able to vibe with them for sure. It needs to be somebody you can tolerate all day long.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how my buddy, who's been working with me, how that pans out. But things they're looking up.
All right.
So
well, let's do some quick takes.
Quick takes. Okay. First one. What's one thing you can't live without?
All right. One thing I can't live without, I would say, oh no, my grandma.
That's not a bad thing. Fuck yeah.
I mean, come on, man. She's freaking rocks. First of all, she prays for me every day at 2 p.m. She's praying for me right now. She prays for like an hour with her church group. But yeah, I would say family and that thing. Like it's really important to me.
That's awesome.
It's not like the coolest quick take, but that's true.
No, that's great, dude. For real. What's a pet peeve of yours?
All right, pet peeve of mine, I would say kind of someone who's like this, like, and like chewing in my ear. It makes me, I'm like, oh my God. When I was a kid, I would have to build a cereal box, like barrier between me and my brother. Cause he would like slurp his cereal up, and I would, God. I can't even think about it really.
My son is like a gamer, and he constantly has headphones on, and he can never hear anything you're doing. But the worst thing is when he eats, when he is playing or on his tablet or whatever, because he doesn't know how loud he's being chewing. And it's just like open mouth, fucking horse chewing. And I got to come over and be like, dude, like take his headphones off. Be like, you fucking need to knock it off right now. It's like super loud and obnoxious.
I could believe it. Yeah, the gaming. It's something I can't live without too, probably.
Are you doing like PC games, or are you like an Xbox or a PlayStation?
So PC strictly. I really don't play any game besides one game. It's called Valorant.
Mm-hmm.
You guys ever heard of it?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I don't know. Something about Xbox I can't do anymore. I don't know how to use the controller anymore because I played Call of Duty during COVID, and then I started playing with the mouse and keyboard, and then I just gave away my Xbox and never looked back.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. Andy, you got next one?
Yeah, hang on one sec. I've got to find this. I've got to find this cover letter for this guy who applied here. Hold on.
I hope it takes you 15 minutes. You're just fucking devouring them blueberries.
Yeah, I've got a blueberry problem. Well, seriously, I'm not kidding. When I tell you, I got my cholesterol checked the other day, and it was like, yeah, it's bad. My friend who's a doctor was like, if you were 40, you'd be like on cholesterol medicine and so forth, so on. He said, you really got to change this. So I have to go on what they call a Mediterranean diet.
Which is what?
My life's over. Like a lot of like fish and like olive oil and grains, nothing that's good. I can't, no more. I eat so many. I eat a lot of cheeseburgers, not going to lie. And I love them dearly.
Too many of them.
Too many. So I basically have fruit is important to me. I love to eat like strawberries, blueberries, all that jazz, vegetables, and a lot of burgers. So apparently the burgers is the bad part.
And a fuckload of burgers.
When you apply here, there's two things you have to do. You have to email me your resume and a cover letter. If you can't follow those instructions, then I never respond to you. He did both. He emailed his resume and cover letter. And check out this opening sentence. It's amazing. So it says, "Dear hiring manager, I used to devote all of my time from work to playing Fortnite. Plain and simple, I was bumming it around my apartment. Lately, however, I've been devoting all of my time to something else." And then he goes into like how much he likes t-shirts and stuff. But I'm like, you were saying that you play this one game all the time. And I'm like, this guy just starts off by saying he was like this Fortnite addict or something. And, and then he goes into like this new thing that he likes. And I loved how he started that. And so I'm like, wait, I want to meet him. You know what I mean? Like what a
dear Dandy at Short Dong. I used to be addicted to porn, and now I'm addicted to your shirts. Hire me, please.
I'm sure hire that. I don't know. I liked it a lot. And he met.
No, yeah, it's like, honest.
He came in and I met with him. I showed him around, that's what I do is like we go on a tour and I just chat with him while we're going on the tour because it's not awkward. Then it's like, we're just walking to the shop and we talk about some different things here. He asks some questions. And then when I'm done, I'm like, so you like normally how this goes is you come back for a trial day. Are you interested? And he goes, extremely. And so he's coming tomorrow.
It's always good when they use another word other than, yeah, kind of, or sounds good. He said extremely.
Right. Like that too.
He's on board.
Nice adjective.
Yeah.
So my next question though is kind of already answered, but maybe not. So the question is, if you could co-star in any Nick Cage movie, which one would it be?
All right. If I could co-star in any Nick Cage movie, what would it be? I mean,
dude, National Treasure for sure. He's fucking
all right, fine.
For treasure.
That's pretty badass, but maybe Gone in 60 Seconds.
I was going to say Gone in 60 Seconds.
Just because like I'm a terrible driver and I could like sit in the side, we'd be chilling in the car, like fucking flying off jumps and stuff. It'd be awesome. I think that would be pretty groovy.
In Eleanor.
Yeah, and if not that, maybe like Mandy would be kind of cool if I was alive the whole time. That would be awesome. I don't know. It's a hard question.
What is your most recent TV binge?
My most recent TV binge was Ted Lasso. Have you guys checked it out?
Yeah.
Oh, and also WandaVision.
I didn't like WandaVision.
Well, I would say WandaVision, the beginning had me like thrown off a bit. I'm like, is this a sitcom? What's going on? but knowing that it was only 9 episodes long,
Then when it got
really-
dark.
yeah, it was kind of cheesy to an extent, but you know, like the whole Agatha witch thing, it was cool.
Yeah.
But I definitely like Ted Lasso.
Yeah, I just watched the most recent Ted episode last night.
I haven't seen it just yet. Is that the one when the new soccer player Zaga, is like?
That was the one before he started. I don't want to give it away if anybody hasn't listened to it, but
yeah, don't give it away. We can't do that.
yeah, it's really good.
But yeah, I'm not even that big of a TV guy, but recently I've given myself the opportunity to be like, all right, time to chill out and watch some TV. You got to relax once in a while.
TV and less burgers.
And less burgers.
I love Ted Lasso too. Haven't started the new season yet though, but that is on our next list. But the next question is, what was your first pet?
All right, my first pet. We're going back to Jack and Jill. My parents got us ducks from a lake. They were like babies. They ended up letting them go. But yeah, Jack and Jill, these 2 ducks. I see pictures of them, but you know, I wasn't old enough to really remember them. Then I had some fish, Beavis and Butthead. I had a million hermit crabs. And my first real pet was a bunny named Mopsy. And I love that bunny. I would draw super bunny pictures, and I would harass it and like throw it in the air for some reason, thinking I was very young, by the way. Don't judge me too much, but
Just fucking throwing bunnies around.
yeah, now that bunny is. I went away to North Carolina, and my friend's family was watching the bunny, and I got back, and they said it ran away. Me and my friend are walking down the street, and he's like, "Just want to let you know, Mopsy died. It didn't run away." And I'm like, "What?" Yeah, my friend Nolan. I bring it up to him once in a while. Remember when you told me the truth about Mopsy?
Remember when you killed my bunny?
Yeah,
With your
I had a
bare
heat stroke.
hands?
So then I had my dog Henry was great. Jumped out of a window. That one was fun. I had a lot of pets, but I really would love to have a shop dog. Maybe one day.
One day. Favorite go-to snack?
Favorite go-to snack? Strawberries. I'm a berry guy. Blueberries, strawberries. I hate chips. Sounds crazy.
Yeah.
Not a chip guy.
Strawberries are really good, but really expensive.
Well,
You can eat a family pack of strawberries in one sitting, and it's like $10.
yeah, you ever have a Produce Junction? I don't know if they're up your way.
I don't think so.
It's just like bulk fruit. So I'll load up, and yeah, it's an addiction basically. A bowl of strawberries and blueberries, you can eat it all in like 20 minutes and be like, hell did I just do?
Yeah, but it's amazing. Andy, signature?
Yeah, what is for dinner tonight?
Well,
Fish.
some Jennifer Aniston salad that I found on Instagram. It's got like quinoa, some like cucumbers, chickpeas, lemon. I don't know what the heck's in it. It's coming together though. That's what I'm gonna eat.
That
Really
doesn't sound like
healthy
a burger at all.
I know. Well, I told you last night was my last hurrah. I was like, it was the whole last couple of days. I've just been eating terribly because I'm like, I have to fix my diet. So today is the first day of a new life of terrible food. I don't know. I can't have anything for a little bit. Like when I tell you it's high, it's like,
It's high.
yeah, it's bad.
It's as high as you were on 2 edibles.
Right. Yeah. It's like that high.
Well, Mario, thanks for coming on, man. We really appreciate it. You got a pretty fun story and really cool thing going on, and I hope
definitely. Also, definitely go follow him on Instagram.
Yeah, I hope you get that other employee and it frees you up, and you could do more awesome shit.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
With work-life balance.
Don't
is
ask
there
me, ask
any-
Andy.
Andy, do you have any secrets to it?
Why do you ask? Are you
Well-
struggling with that right now?
Not so much right now, but I do find that it's a little hard to shut off from work. You know, my mind's always moving and grooving, and like I'm thinking about this. It's like sometimes hard to like shut off and, you know, not think about work stuff.
I don't know. I think Dylan would say the same thing. Go on walks.
It's true.
A nice walk.
In all honesty, that really helped me. Like, I know it sounds cheesy and stupid or whatever, but like I was having a really hard time where I was really stressed out all the time. And I mean, it's not like something where everyone knew I was stressed out, but like I was, personal life and business and everything. And then I decided to start going on walks every day and just having the alone time and like fresh air and like sunshine and being fucking outside just like gave me time to like chill the fuck out or like think to myself or just listen to music or listen to a podcast or call a friend. Like it turned into an opportunity to just call somebody I haven't talked to in a while and just like not necessarily talk about work, but just talk about like them and how they're doing and everything else. And now I like crave it. Like I want to go walk around the lake like every day as much as I can. So something simple like that. And it's also too, now it's like, you just need to make it part of your routine. So like for me, I drop the kids off at like 7:15 and I don't really have to be to work till 9. So like I go for a walk for like an hour and 15 minutes, which is like 3 miles. And then I get to work by 8:30 and I still have a half hour to myself before everyone starts rolling in. So it's not like it hinders my day in any way. It's not like I'm like, fuck, I got to go for this walk and it's going to take up this amount of time. I just know that like I have that window. So I don't know. It could be something to do, but I think at some point you just got to you need time to yourself no matter what it is you're doing. Even if it's video games for you, it could be like, you know, at 9 o'clock, I'm going to play from 9 to 10:30 or something. And I'm not going to think about work. I'm just going to shut my mind off and I'm just going to, you know, fucking shoot zombies or whatever the hell it is you're doing.
Yeah, I definitely would like to be able to shut off easier. So walking, talking, shooting, I guess that is important because like, you know, one thing I've learned is that you can't always be worrying about what you have to do and what needs to be done and just like putting too much pressure on yourself. It's like nice to take a step away. And I find that's something that I find hard to do. So hearing both of you tell me you've been through it, it kind of helps me see that there's a way out of it.
Well, that'll help too when you hire somebody. You know, like again, it'll take that much more off of your plate. And, you know, maybe they get there at 9 o'clock and you say, I'm not going to get in until 10. And you have that hour in the morning to stroll around Philly and not get stabbed.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. The stabbing part. I don't know if you know where Kensington is. You probably don't. I mean, like, if I walked too far north, there's a good chance something bad will happen. But yeah, that's why I was much more like tranquil at the beach. I was able to really kind of take in walking there. Now I'm here in Philly. It's a little different vibe. So I appreciate that. You know, you even say even a video game is a way to do it.
I mean, but we were,
just gotta shut off.
I was in Chicago last weekend and Joe and I got up and we walked, you know, like it was the city and it was crowded, but we were able to just go walk and just explore. And it's really, I think it's like my meditation in a way, you know, you can clear your, sort of like what Dylan said, you just clear your mind. And no matter, even if you're in a shitty mood, you know, it works because I figured out that I can control what I'm thinking or how I'm feeling. I can do that. And I just have to stop and focus on that and meditate and clear my mind and go do that. And so walking is the trick for me. What sucks is when it's really cold. And so I find places to do it inside, like to walk around inside, you know, if it's too cold anyway. But yeah, for sure, try that out and see and make like Dylan said, make time to go do it, and don't do it just for 5 minutes or something, even though that's better than nothing. And also, this is going to be good for your cholesterol if you exercise. So
right.
It'll be good.
Then you can eat a burger a day.
I wish.
Go for an hour walk, you get a burger. It's like a treat at the end.
That's a good goal. Maybe like 5 miles.
Maybe a slider.
Yeah. All right, like a little baby slider.
A little something.
All right. Yeah, just a little nibble. All right. Well,
again, thanks, dude.
I appreciate it.
Did he freeze right at the end?
We can wave.
Thank you guys.
We love you, Mario.